Hello everybody and welcome to the video notes for Unit 3, Day 13. Today we're going to be learning about absolute value. Today's video is dedicated to Alex Sanchez in 6B. Hi Alex. Our objective for what we are trying to learn is we want to be able to determine the absolute value of a number. So determine the absolute value of a number. The absolute value of a number is the number's distance from zero. So the absolute value of a number is the number's distance from zero. So what we mean by that is, what is the absolute value of 7? Well, let's take a look. Let's find 7 on this number line. Positive 7, it's going to be right over here. And if absolute value is the distance from 0, so 0 is here, and we go out to 7 here, how far is that? That's going to be 7. So we would say that the absolute value, and the way that we write absolute value in math is we put up these straight lines around the number, just like that. So when you see a number and there's these two lines, vertical lines next to it, that's saying what is the absolute value of this number. So the absolute value of 7 is its distance from 0. Well, 7 is 7 away from 0, so this is equal to 7. Now what about negative numbers? What is the absolute value of negative 7? Let's find negative 7 on our number line. 0's here. Negative numbers are to the left. Negative 7 is going to be right here. And let's find the distance between negative 7 and 0. Well, it goes from here to 0. And this distance is 7. Remember, distance is always positive. You can never have negative distance. So this is 7 away from 0. So that would mean that the absolute value of negative 7, right, that's how we would write that in math, is equal to 7. So the absolute value of negative 7 is also 7 because that is the distance from 0. So what we can also say is that the absolute value is always positive. It's kind of like finding the positive version of a number. Let's practice a little bit. We'll do the first one together, and then you're going to do the next two on your own. So negative 6, what is the absolute value of negative 6? Here's how you would write it. Right, you remember you put the two vertical lines around it. The absolute value is its distance from 0. Let's check. If negative 6 is here and 0 is there, it is how many away from 0? 6 from 0. So the absolute value of negative 6 is 6. Now on the right here, it's going to ask us, what's a different number that also has the absolute value of 6? Right? It's like saying the absolute value of what number is also going to be equal to 6. Well, I think to myself, what number is also 6 away from 0? Well, instead of going to the left, I can go to the right. 6. And that would bring me to right here. And that's positive 6. So the absolute value of positive 6 is also equal to 6. Now that we've done this together as a class, I want you to pause the video and try these two problems on your own. So let's pause and go. And now you are resuming the video after you tried on your own so that you can challenge yourself to learn the absolute value of 8. Well, if 8's here, 0's here, how many away from 0 is 8? Well, it's 8 away, so the absolute value is 8. What other number is also 8 away from 0? Well, we can go the other way, and that brings us to negative 8. So the absolute value of negative 8 is also equal to 8. Let's try this last one. Absolute value of negative 1. Well, if negative 1 is here, 0 is here, it's just 1 away. So its distance from 0 is 1. What other number also has a distance of 1? Well, we go the other way to positive 1. So positive 1 also has an absolute value of 1. If you got both of those on your own, 4 gold stars for you. And now, let's level up. Let's read the directions. It says, for each scenario below, use absolute value to determine the magnitude of each quantity. And right above magnitude, I want you to draw an arrow and write absolute value. Because anytime you see magnitude, that's just the same thing as absolute value. So the same thing. So determine the absolute value of each of these numbers. Example number 1. Maria was sick with the flu, and her weight change as a result of it is represented by negative 4 pounds. How much weight did Maria lose? Let's underline the number that we're going to be working with here, negative 4 pounds. And let's find the absolute value of it. The absolute value of negative 4 is that number's distance from 0. So negative 4 is 4 away from 0. So we would say the absolute value is 4. And we would then say, Maria, it's asking us how much weight did she lose. So we would say Maria lost 4 pounds. So even though that this number up here is negative, the reason why we say a positive number here is because if you said that Maria lost negative 4 pounds, that doesn't really make sense. You can't lose a negative amount of something. So that's why we don't say negative 4, even though it's a negative 4 here. We find the absolute value and we say Maria lost 4 pounds. All right. So you find the absolute value, and then you're going to write your answer statement. You are going to try these bottom two on your own using that strategy. So let's pause and then try these two on your own. Go ahead and do that now. And now you are resuming the video to check your work. Let's see how we did. Jeffrey owes his friend $5. How much is Jeffrey's debt? Well, if you owe your friend, owing is a negative situation, $5. So negative 5. But we're going to take the absolute value of that. The absolute value of negative 5 is like the positive version. So it's going to be 5. And we would say Jeffrey owes $5. Right? Because you wouldn't say Jeffrey owes negative $5 because you can't owe somebody a negative amount. If you got that, 2 gold stars. Last one. How far below 0 is negative 16 degrees Celsius? Well, negative 16 is our number. Let's find the absolute value of that. The absolute value of negative 16 is its distance from 0. Negative 16 is 16 away from 0. And so we would say it is 16 degrees below 0. Right? Because we're already saying below 0, so we wouldn't say that it's negative 16 below 0. We say it's 16 below 0. If you made it this far, awesome job. The secret word for today is kitten, like a little cat. Kitten is the secret word. Thanks for following along.